Chicago, like most big cities, has its fair share of unsolved crime. And in most of these cases, somebody saw or heard something. It could be a suspicious person, a car driving away from the scene, or simply overhearing somebody talking about the case. With your help, we can put these criminals behind bars where they belong. Here in Chicago, we have too many unsolved murders. We need your help. In these cases, the police department is only as strong as the citizens that get involved. Oftentimes, all the detectives need is a tip, a start. Somebody to call in and say, I saw something. Any little information that you know can be the impetus to solve the entire case. On tonight's episode, we'll be taking a look at the unsolved death of 23-year-old AmandaPucci. On the morning of May 6, 2014, the body of Amanda was found in an alley in the 1000 block of North Wood Street in Chicago. Her death remains unsolved. Here's her story.
AmandaPucci grew up in New York, and her family still resides there. I had a chance recently to speak with both grandmothers and also her mother, Christy, and she was described as a very young, energetic girl, very strong-willed, very ambitious. Even at a young age, she showed those traits.
I met Amanda when I lived in Fox Lake at the time, and she had came to apply for a job. She approached us and saw that we worked there, and Amanda decided to talk to us. And before she even asked our names, she had asked us all what our signs were. Amanda was big into horoscopes, loved reading about everything, knowing people's backgrounds of horoscopes. So Amanda came up to us, asked us all what our signs were, and then she asked our names.
She was very just interested in getting to know people in general, and that's where she developed a lot more of her qualities, where she would be helpful to others, very nice, and a very kind person.
Amanda used to always tell us every day that things were going to happen or this was going to happen. When I first met Amanda, she actually told me that she is an Aries and I am a Libra. And Amanda told me that Aries and Libra females will go of two ways. They will either be best friends or they won't like each other at all. And Amanda and I soon learned that we became inseparable.
Amanda's mother, Christy, was very instrumental in Amanda's life growing up, but also her grandmothers, Carol and Karen, were also very instrumental in raising Amanda. She loved to spend the night at her grandmother's house. She loved to be in the forest, hiking, loving nature, and she also loved to find animals that often roamed in the forest.
Her family has a lot of pictures of her with animals, frogs, and Amanda always told us that if she ever did go, just to look at squirrels, and that would be her, because Amanda was convinced she would come back as a squirrel.
Amanda was the first of 11 grandchildren, so she was able to help raise some of the other grandchildren. She loved kids and loved helping. In fact, she did the same thing with her siblings, a set of twin sisters and also a little brother. As they got older, they really looked up to Amanda. She was just a pillar of inspiration to all of them. In fact, Amanda inspired her youngest brother and her sisters to join into the military, where they were very successful.
Amanda was probably one of the most bubbly people that I had ever met.
She was just full of life. In fact, her family described her as just being energetic. She lit up the room and people loved to be around her.
Amanda was always picking up extra shifts or wanting to be everywhere. We had multiple different bars in the place that we worked at. She loved being inside. We had a tiki bar, we had a club upstairs. Amanda was always trying to find something to do just to keep busy.
In New York, she started attending a college locally and she took an interest in liberal arts. Once she left New York and came to Chicago, her dream was to continue schooling and also continue the liberal arts field.
Amanda was originally from New York and was living in nearby Fox Lake. She was a hardworking young woman and only 23 years old when she passed away under mysterious circumstances.
Amanda was a young girl who moved to Chicago from New York. She was in her 20s. She was in the prime of her life. She was living with her boyfriend. They were making plans to get married and starting their life here in Chicago. Amanda one night went out with her girlfriend. They were out at a local establishment called the Evil Olive in Wicker Park. That was the last time anyone saw Amanda alive.
Have you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
Amanda was a young girl who moved to Chicago from New York. She was in her 20s. She was in the prime of her life. She was living with her boyfriend. They were making plans to get married and starting their life here in Chicago. Amanda one night went out with her girlfriend. They were out at a local establishment called the Evil Olive in Wicker Park. That was the last time anyone saw Amanda alive.
I had talked to Amanda the day before everything happened. Well, the morning of that everything happened, we actually talked while she was on her way to work. And Amanda wanted me to come out to the city because it was Cinco de Mayo. And then Amanda was gonna go with our friend to a Cubs game, but she ended up not doing that. She just went out with a friend to go get some drinks.
Amanda had gone out to celebrate Cinco de Mayo with some of her coworkers. She was a healthy, vibrant young woman at a popular dance club.
It was a great night in the city that night, so a lot of people were out. She was at a venue called the Evil Olive, and this place was packed, as it usually is. Amanda was seen in some surveillance photos and videos.
She was having a good time, celebrating with her friends.
Nobody knows what time she actually left, although she was there with some friends that night. Nobody was quite sure what had happened to her because nobody's seen anything prior, anything that would indicate that she was in any trouble or that she even wanted to leave the Evil Olive.
This was the last place she was seen alive.
When Amanda was found, she was found in an alley.
She was found about 7 in the morning by a homeowner who lived near the club where Amanda was last seen. The homeowner opened her garage door to find Amanda's lifeless body in the alley.
She was found dead, unresponsive, sitting down.
The homeowner contacted the police, who responded immediately and pronounced Amanda dead at the scene. The police found no signs of trauma, but are still investigating this sudden and suspicious nature of Amanda's death.
Later in the evening, I got a call repeatedly from a New York number, and then I got a Facebook call, and it was Amanda's mom, and I was very confused. She asked me if I had talked to Amanda. I said no, Amanda was out last night, so I just kind of figured she was still sleeping. She had told me that Amanda usually calls her, and she hadn't, and she couldn't get a hold of Mike, and she felt like something was really, really wrong. And then the next day, Amanda's mom called me, and they didn't know what happened yet, but there was a notice out of a girl that sounded very descriptive of Amanda.
The family found out about Amanda's incident because they received a call from the Chicago Police Department. Keep in mind, Amanda's family lives in New York, and to hear news like that is really devastating when you're so far away.
So that's when I reached out to Mike, and someone had answered his phone, and she had just basically verified to me that unfortunately it was true. And then we hung up the phone. She didn't want to give me any details, which I understood.
When Amanda's grandmother Karen got the news, her first thoughts were that Amanda had been raped and brutally beaten and left in an alley to die. They weren't quite sure. They didn't really have answers at that time.
When Amanda was taken to the Cook County morgue, the medical examiner ruled it overdose, heroin, and alcohol. Amanda was a young girl who moved to Chicago from New York. She was in her 20s. She was in the prime of her life. She was living with her boyfriend. They were making plans to get married and starting her life here in Chicago. Amanda one night went out with her girlfriend. They were out at a local establishment called the Eagle Olive in Wicker Park. That was the last time anyone saw Amanda alive. When Amanda was found, she was found in an alley at a nearby block. She was found dead, unresponsive, sitting down. When Amanda was taken to the Cook County morgue, the medical examiner ruled it overdose, heroin, and alcohol.
When they received the autopsy report, the family did find out that there were some drugs in Amanda's system. Amanda was not known to use any drugs. She had somebody that was very close to her that was affected by drugs, and that made her dislike drugs even more. So the family is very confused on why there would be drugs in Amanda's system. This is something that was not like her, not in her personality at all.
Hearing that Amanda had passed was probably one of the hardest things to go through.